It's horrible. Bottom right-hand side of this ZvT best of 3 qualifying match for Team Liquid Star League 7. This is our Red Zerg player Serral taking on the blue Terran player. In the top left-hand side, it is uThermal. So it's going to be a best of 3 for Team Liquid Star League 7. The first qualifier, so if you don't qualify here, you do get a chance to qualify again next week. As we get this one up and rolling. So, game 1 of our series, and kind of excited to see what uThermal brings. So, uThermal, first of all, Serral's going to start pool first, so whether that means aggression here on a shorter map like Lightshade, or that's just a, I don't want to get, proxy raxed, we will find out. But yesterday they did play, and uThermal put up a good fight against Serral. In particular, able to win on this map with what was just an 8 rax, right? He got a good start to the game, he got some good pressure going, and he just kept going through, and Serral was not able to hold. I believe that was on Lightshade, and then they played Oxide map 2, and I can't remember what their third map was, but yeah, I do believe that was the way that it went, and it did go in uThermal's favor for one map at least. He was 1-0 up, and Serral brought it back, and everyone's just, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, because like, phew, we still get to watch Serral versus Clem. That's our Overlord. Just continues out to the upper left-hand side. So obviously our first 6 links start up. That's what happened yesterday for Serral, right? He went pool first against the CC first, and he actually managed to do so much damage. That was against Solo, right? That wasn't against uThermal. I'm trying to remember because we casted a few ZvTs yesterday. Alright, we do see a few links just going to peel off over to the side. This Reaper is going to see them. uThermal not paying attention, sees it now, and is going to turn around for those Zerglings, which is obviously like an absolutely must. He ignores the 2 links that pull back, and I can appreciate that. Just going to chase down some of the others and making sure that's not a continued threat across the map. He has got 1 Marine out, but the last thing you want is to have like 4 links show up still, because that's still going to be an SCV pull. Against 2 links, you're probably okay. So I like the way that uThermal handled that, sort of just saying like, no, we're not going to go kind of crazy. We're not going to let this get out of hand. Just going to, handle this nice and quickly. Make sure it's under control and go from there. As now we managed to grab a drone. Now this Reaper hops up into the main base. That Reaper is going to go down. So Reaper falls, and these few links into the natural expansion will try and get some damage done as well. Initially going in after an SCV. These couple Marines are going to go sit out on the ramp. And our Zergling speed is still building up on the spawning pool as well. So just getting that link speed up and running. The hatchery on the 3rd base also. As our starport begins in the main base. So it's going to be 3CC. This is something that uThermal showed us pretty much every game against Serral yesterday as well. 3 command centers, not going too far off the beaten track in that regard. As of course 2 Terran players qualified from the winners bracket, uThermal could make that 3 Terran players out of Europe. That would be something, wouldn't it? Not every day you see that, especially in Europe, because, you'd expect at least one of Serral/Reno to qualify in the first qualifier, if nobody else. That's pretty intriguing. I mean, obviously, it may not happen, but still just would be pretty fun. As you do see those couple lings trying to move up, this ramp going to get shot down, so those lings will fall. Banshee on the way, Cloak on the way. A couple of additional Hellions still coming through as well. There's that orbital in the main base. And these 2 Hellions of uThermal just going to come sweeping around through the center. Try and see what else they can do. The Hellion's going to pull it back. It's just going to be seeing our Cloak is coming up. Going to be finishing shortly. Banshee about to complete, and so Cloak Banshee to start us off here. Obviously, puts out some potential aggression as Ovi wants to get a scout. He saw the starport, he didn't see the Cloak before. Now he will. Good info for Serral. I'm sure he was probably planning on having Spore Crawlers ready anyway. But now he absolutely has to make those Spore Crawlers, so I don't imagine there was a world in which Serral was going to skip the Spores, but so like I said, I don't think it's the biggest issue for uThermal letting that be scouted. As he didn't really let it be scout, but you know, the Overlord did make it in. You see an armory though, so this is actually going to be like 3 CC into like Banshees with Hellbats to support as well. I would imagine these few Hellions, I know they keep map control, but maybe pull them back and get them repaired. If they're going to come into being Hellbats, any little bit of HP you can get on these Hellbats is only going to help you out that little bit further, right? Barracks 2 and 3 coming in behind this 3rd CC in position. And this is really just going to be a test for Serral as to whether he is prepared to deal with this incoming attack. I mean, a couple of Banes set to go, great, that's something, that's a start, but that's not a lot as those Lings sit surrounding on these rocks. Just going to see a couple of these Banshees are going to make their way around the bottom side, and they are going to fly over this hatchery. So hatchery, it's going to be flown over. The Hellions at the front getting rid of a Creep Teamer. And into the main base we go, looking for, well, drones. A drone to start us off there. Starts off with a drone. Now these Queens still taking damage. A couple more drones going down. Here comes the push through the center of the map. Hellbats and a few Marines joined up as well. Like I say, the initial preparation here from Serral seems minimal to say the least. The first few Banes connect decently. Can we get rid of some of these Banes before they morph? One of them will go down. A couple of Hellbats still around the back. Feels like Serral is doing a reasonable job defending, but the drones pull through Hellbats. They survive. And uThermal is, I mean, that's pretty much going to be it for this attack. These few Hellbats remain. They'll get cleaned up by Queens. And that just did not do the damage it needed to. 2 drones, but that's it. You look at resources lost here. It's going to be in Serral's favor. That's always a good sign when you're defending against a Hellbat attack. There's a couple reinforcing, or a couple Lings going to hit reinforcements. So reinforcing units get a little cleanup. You do see uThermal was still building Hellions, now just going to switch into mines. That means he hasn't had a reactor on this barracks, at least. His Marine count is low. They'll try and substitute that with Hellions, but the problem with that is that you are now not going to have as much map control. Yes, the Hellions are decent at map control, but you're not going to have as much creep clearing potential. Like Marines with Sim and like Medivacs are way stronger than Hellions at this stage of the game. The Hellions are great against like run-bys and stuff, but if you want something that's on the map and has mobility and can really stim forward, pick off a couple of creep teamers, etc., you would usually pick Marines. And that's why I think uThermal will really be lacking. And so this entire map starts to get completely covered in creep spread. Just all the way across. Four Hellbats load into Medivacs. As we will begin to move our way through the center here. Lings have a surround on those rocks, and those rocks get taken down. There's additional Banelings are going to morph in. We're going to go forward for those couple of Widow Mines. They're just going to get caught right away. One Baneling shot a few Lings. Actually managed to get one, but unburrowed mines have low priority, and the target fire wasn't there to pick them off, so now that Widow Mine does get to burrow up, and we push on through. A couple of creep teamers still taking some hits. As the Banes roll forward, Marines going to lift back into the Medivac. And spreading a little bit more creep as we go forward once again. These Lings and the Bane want to try and push on through this. Another Baneling just going to get picked off. Adrenaline Claws on the way. It's not far from finishing. Additional racks in the main about to complete too. I'm just going to be seeing the infestation pit with that Hydra Den. Both of those building now as well. Here comes that Widowmine Marine Force. Now, this is a pretty sizable set of units, but still a little afraid for Serral. Just, I mean, like, Serral felt like he had a good start. I don't know why I'm as worried as I am. Maybe for Widowmine shots like that, where they target fire onto the Banes and they get to connect. I mean, that's pretty fantastic, because uThermal takes a bit of a supply lead. I guess that's why I'm a little afraid for Serral. Who isn't really doing anything in particular, just 81 drones laying Bane. uThermal has a 4th base as well. So it's not like this is just a never-ending push. But what it does mean is he's obviously got good economy behind this as well, so any damage he does manage to do is typically going to be pretty good for you. He's going to find some Morphing Banes up here. He's going to instantly stim up there. Serral will cancel, get that money back, and retain some of the Zerglings. That's obviously nice to get rid of. Just those few Morphing Banes. It's uThermal has the Drilling Claws, so he's going to unburrow and reburrow a few times. Trying to be annoying with his Widow Mine. It will finally go off, but Serral doesn't actually clean it up, so that little bit of micro from uThermal actually has led to him retaining the Widow Mine here. Now we push through with everything else. So Medivac's going to go lifting a few units into Medivacs as well. Widow Mines once more, firing away. Things come in. They're just able to grab a Widow Mine out there too on the right-hand side. These two medevacs going to make their way down. Widow Mine setting up. The rest of our Marine medevac mine force coming out down to the bottom. As we are going to unload these couple of Banes. Crash into a couple of Marines, and Lings are going to go streaming on through this. The Baneling connection as Widow Mine burrows up again. Fires, Lean Bane taking damage. On the bottom side of the map, this army is going to push on through. This Spore Crawler's in some trouble. These Lings continue to drop. And this hatchery is going to go down. So uThermal gets a good push to the 6 o'clock. That's going to take down this base. And these medevacs, okay, they're just empty medevacs now. Yeah, you get rid of a base here, and that's a big deal. As uThermal, impressive to do. There's so much creep on the map as well, especially. Is the one thing I'm really worried about for uThermal is, like, how are you actually meant to push? Well, finds a way in here where there is a little bit less creep. And it's just those couple of openings or pathways that Serral will have to be that little bit more on top of to make sure uThermal can't do pushes like this again. You can't allow that to happen. I keep looking over here because I'm convinced there's about to be a mine drop or something for some reason. Puzzles me how drilling claws are not more popular in TVZ. It's so cheap from the chat. Problem with drilling claws, I mean, everyone gets drilling claws if they play mines. The problem is, to get drilling claws, you need a factory with a tech lab. So to get drilling claws initially, it's not that it's cheap, it's that you need the tech lab factory, and that is an expense because then you're not reactoring Widow Mines. So then your Widow Mine count is actually at a pretty, bad place. Pretty much anyone that's building Widow Mines is going to get drilling claws if they end up going to a second factory. It's just, a lot of the time, when they go to a second factory, it's this stage of the game where the lurkers are coming up and they may start switching to tanks, etc. Obviously, drilling claws is fantastic if you've got a second factory up and you're playing Widow Mines. No one's going to doubt that. It's just come on through this push on the bottom side. uThermal just lost a chunk of SCVs to a run by. That was off screen. But I mean, Serral's losing top right base. This bottom left base looks like it'll go down too. He's losing a couple of queens here. Drones came down and mined this position. That worker kill counter is still rising as uThermal pulls it back. Does this Widow Mine get to go? It does hit the Baneling and a few Lings in the end. He will lift and evacuate those units, as it looks as though a Widow Mine here got the better end of Lings and bio units, I believe. uThermal comes out, there's 40 supply up, and there's something about this map that just works for uThermal against Serral as he takes a 5th base in a forward position, somewhere he can maybe push forward to and rally forward from right now. An extra bonus is we're going to be seeing our bio units coming in. Things and Banes rolling forward, a couple of them getting picked off. The lurkers are going to burrow at the front here. Bio units is going to dodge away, going to grab himself a lurker. Now other lurkers starting to go down too, at least a couple of them got picked away at. And pull back a little bit as Lings come running on the other side of the map. 4 SCVs down, these depots are falling. On the far left, this bio army is still around. So, I mean, counterattack's decent, but at the same time, so is the fact that uThermal's just gone army everywhere. Yes, Serral is now up to lurkers, but uThermal is starting to deal with that, right? He's making a move with the advanced ballistics, getting in towards Liberator range. He's getting an answer for these lurkers. It's not playing Ghost like a lot of people do, but playing the Liberator range. I don't mind it initially, considering this is a pretty low Hydra count. There's not going to be a lot of anti-air immediately. On a map where it seems like uThermal wants to keep on pushing, so he can probably make a few things happen. He's going to drop into the main base. He's going to find the spawning pool. I mean, again, he's killed multiple important structures this game. He killed the Lurker Den initially, killed that spawning pool just now. The Lurker Den going down obviously was pretty nice because it slowed down the progression of his opponent, as this probably could have been a hive kill. Instead, he just stands and fights the Lings, which is also not a bad trade for him. A lot of these Lings go down trying to fight the bio army. Same time, push through the middle of the map, trying to make something happen. Lurker gets picked off. Oh my god, he still had units left here as well, so he's actually going to get rid of this Lurker and the hive. Wow, uThermal actually having just too much in that main base for Serral, who's down on 114 supply, and he just can't get a grip on this game right now. Oh wow, if uThermal takes this map force up 1-0, can you imagine if uThermal is going to force Serral and Reynor to both end up playing in qualifier number 2? What a fight that would turn out to be as these Hydras chase down that additional Thor. So that will go down. These few units on the ramp going to get cleaned up as well. uThermal going to pick off that Hydralisk. Going for another Hydra. This Lurker going to come through and burrow up as well. The Marauder in the main base. Hydras not quite able to get the medevacs. 8 drones going down. uThermal going to load up these medevacs and just relocate a little bit. Serral is holding on with, you know, the bare minimum. Lurker's allowing him to stay in this game, allowing him to hold off a couple of these pushes at least. But how much longer will that last in a game where he is not just down on that army as it stands, he's also down on the current economy game. So he's just down across the board as uThermal pushes through. Lurker goes down. He's going to maybe try and jump on this bottom position. Plenty of Lurkers there, so maybe I should not say jump there, but jump into the main. And again, uThermal just pulling off the same moves again and again, and Serral doesn't have it. It's not that Serral doesn't know how to deal with this, it's that Serral doesn't have the army to deal with this. Like, he just can't split up his army well enough to deal with uThermal just lifting into the main base. He knows it's probably going to happen again. If you don't have an army, what are you going to do? Just not defend the front base? Well, then there's no reason for uThermal to go to the main. And this is all based off of the advantage that uThermal take it into game number 2. We were in this position yesterday as well, though. As in the top right, our Red Zerg Serral was also down 1-0 yesterday against the very same opponent. In the bottom left, the blue Terran player is uThermal. And yesterday, Serral was able to pull it back. Now we go 2,000 atmospheres. Am I crazy in thinking that was not a map that we saw yesterday? I want to say that it really wasn't. When they played yesterday, it's not on Liquipedia. Yesterday, they definitely played Oxide Map 2, right? I'm pretty sure they played Oxide Map 2. I wonder what the veto process was this time. Anyone remember what they played for Map 3 yesterday as well? I think it was Romanticide Map 3 as well. There's definitely a different veto process. It's definitely going to be some different maps. It'll be intriguing to see what the third map turns out to be, actually. Let's see if you're going to go scout out onto the map. Heading across to the upper right-hand side. To get this underway. Looking to pick up on some info. I'm just wondering if we see some mech here. This map has been pretty good for mech. We've seen that in GSL and other tournaments as well. This reactor will start up on the barracks, and the factory's going to come through as well. Obviously, nothing too wild just yet from uThermal. Looks as though it will be 3 CC, otherwise we'd see a second gas already. So it's going to be 3 command centers. My question is just bio or mech, because uThermal is the kind of guy to play a battlecruiser into mech. Like, you know, if I was to pick anyone to do that, I'd probably pick uThermal as one of my prime suspects. So I would not be surprised if he mixed it up, because he likes mixing it up, uThermal. As that Reaper is going to go down. Got too aggressive in the natural there. Really thought he may have had a drone kill on his hands, but led to him losing the Reaper. So that's a shame early. Because now there's no reason to keep these Lings at home. So Serral can bring these across, look for some scouting information all the way, stuff like that. Second factory on the way. So this is going to be a little funky. Where is it? There it is. Back of the main. So it is going to be a little different. It is 3 CC, but then into that second factory. So it is going to be something that we've seen a fair amount of. That Blue Flame Hellion opener. Now that actually doesn't typically lead to mech, as surprising as that may seem with the 2 factories. Usually this Blue Flame Hellion setup actually leads you into a bio setup after, because if you can deal damage with the Blue Flame Hellions, transitioning into bio is a good way to keep the momentum up, more so than actually just playing a mech army. As silly as that seems, that's just mech for you. It takes a long time to set up, so... I guess the Tech Lab dropping down, like I say, Infernal Preigniter, Blue Flame for the Hellions should absolutely be the call here. Don't think we'd be surprised if it was anything different, I guess, as maybe you could go like Cyclone Hellion early, but not sure Cyclone Hellion. I don't even think early Cyclones really do anything for you when the main threat is going to be the Zerglings. And there is Infernal Preigniter, again the Blue Flame up and running. Baneling Nest on the natural expansion. A few queens are going to collect on the right side. Popping down a creep tumor. Another one to the side as well. And those couple of Hellions will continue to peel their way back across to the left as well. Now, again, Baneling Nest going to be coming through. It's about halfway done. Baneling Nest will be pretty important in all of this, as we're going to see these lanes. We're going to see 3 Hellions. 3 Hellions is kind of an odd number. He does manage to hide the next one on the high ground as well, though, so he's trying to really make this believable that this is just one factory. I'd say as long as Serral doesn't build a Roach Roaring, uThermal is probably pretty happy here. As Serral, he can get away without a Roach Roaring too, especially because it's not going to be like a mech follow-up. It's not like you're going to have a Lingbane defense into, oh no, now you're playing Lingbane mid-game versus mech. But yeah, definitely feels like this is best case scenario for uThermal still. There's a few additional drones are coming up, and Serral is just droning pretty crazily. Now we're going to see an armory, or is this just going to be pure Hellions? Probably just pure Hellions. As they make their way across. There's 0 scouting on this. This next Ling isn't here just yet. And Serral has no clue about this Hellion squad making its way across the map. In fact, Serral has Lings on the map. There's a few of them here, and they're just now starting to morph a couple of Banes. So uThermal's going to hard dive toward the natural expansion. Drones are going to pull, but they're stacked up as uThermal. How did that not kill more drones? Hellions are going to try and make their way up that ramp, but they will not be successful. How did those drones get away? Low HP, so many of them. The stack fire just wasn't quite there, and this is problematic now for uThermal as he needs to get out of here before the Banelings connect on his Hellions. Oh, he's going to lose every single Hellion. Serral is just about going to squeeze a defense out of this horrible situation. Another round of Hellions are going to run to the third base. What uThermal has done is reset the link count a little bit, so it gives him something of a chance to get some drones now. Gets one, but he's scared to go up the ramp in case of more Banelings. He doesn't want to give these Hellions up. What a hold from Serral, because that looked terrifying. But look at resources lost. Not terrible for uThermal. You still have some Hellions on the map. Just got to remember that this investment slows down so much of the rest of your game. These barracks are going to be late compared to usual. You know, all that kind of stuff. So the follow-up aggression is going to be much later. Aggression that would typically be on the map and staying on the map. So it will now give Serral a good bit of freedom for a little while. As the Hellions come through, they pick off one Zerglin already. And now making their way through the top. A few Bane's going to waddle back. We're going to pick off one of them. Another Bane out over here. Going to get shot down. A few of these Zerglins going down as well. In the end, these Hellions going to have to just turn away with the Queens coming out to the front. Just going to be able to push that back. We scan up into the main base, seeing that lap. The rest of the Hellions making their way through the center. Marines to follow. I mean, the follow-up is going to hit quickly, right? That's the power of this kind of going into Stim after. Now you've got Blue Flame Hellions and Stim Marines ready to make some action happen. So let's see what they can do moving through. Looking to grab a few Banelings, not quite being successful in that just yet. Here comes some Marines stimming. No medevac support just yet. Baneling speed is seconds away. Can these Marines really make a difference? As uThermal's trying to just get off of creep, it feels like. He gets to the edge of creep, comes back around. Massive run by kills 18 SCVs as this fight continues to happen. So uThermal unable to pull his SCVs back. He's floating a lot of money. No medevacs means that these Queens will just pick away at the Marines. They just need the support. Obviously, the Hellions will protect the Marines as we move off of creep. Honestly, this might not have been so bad for uThermal still, had he not just lost 18 workers over in the third base. That is the deal breaker at the moment, I would say. That is absolutely the most expensive part of this, is another command center coming through. Just going to see our Marines and Hellbats making their way around the bottom side. Here come the Lings, looking for a surround. A few of those Marines, low HP still, haven't been healed up because, well, first medevacs have only just popped. There they are. Bane's going to go for round 2 on the third. There's a couple of Hellbats here. That's not going to stop these Banelings from chasing down the SCVs, though. They go around the other side, and the SCVs, where do you even run to? Bane's actually turned back into Hellbats. Minimizes damage taken, to be fair. Thought that was going to be a lot worse than it was. Well, absolutely could have been a lot worse than it was. Hellbats and Marines will push up the right. The Lings on the bottom side trying to run in. Staring up. A couple of these Banes going down. Banelings continuing through. Widowmine's going to fire up. Everything else here from uThermal is just about going to escape away. uThermal is going to get out of there, but obviously Serral has taken full control of this game right now. He's got a large map to work with. He's on his way up to Lurkers, and I just don't see if uThermal can do anything to stop him getting there. Unlike the last game, Serral's going to have an abundance of economy to afford all of those Lurkers and so on. So that's going to be a little bit tough as this medevac has 4 Widow Mines inside, going to come through the top side. And we're just going to go dropping in towards this top side mineral line. And with drilling close, this is definitely the right idea. Hits a chunk of banelings. Well, if you want to get back into a TVZ, damage like that is one way to do it. He is set up with an army over here. I'm not sure if it will be enough to actually be competitive at all. There's just another couple drilling claw mine burrows. First one got taken down just in time. Keeping an eye on this army, seeing if it's about to make a move. Serral's making a move to the left. Once again, maybe targeting this third base, which has obviously been somewhere he's familiarized himself with in this game, with a few Baneling run-bys and Ling run-bys he's thrown at it. He's going to do the same again here. Throwing the Lings at this, the Bane's going to come through. This Widow Mine! Wow, nice last-second split from Serral is going to save a good chunk of the Banes that start to clump up as well. As uThermal retargeting those mines really well, is actually making sure they get onto Banes and are not just kind of being trailed into the bio army, so it's actually really helping him here to take some better fights out to the right. Now Serral's going to take his units that were running by the third base, use these as a flank, so now uThermal's going to be in a bit more trouble. He does not have a lot of splash damage here at the moment, as he is going to get eaten alive by a Baneling. That's the problem, those Banes. The moment that one of them connects, the rest just... well, everything else just kind of, follows, and then the Lings get a lot of cleanups very quickly. uThermal's going to lose pretty much everything. Another Widow Mine hits a Lurker, but it can tank that shot. He tries to save a Widow Mine. He will save 2 of them. Again, to what avail? What do you really have planned on the follow-up here that's going to, save you from all of this? As uThermal backs it up. I'm going to see these few bio units still collecting together. Just going to be seeing a few more Hydras continue to pop on out. Vipers are going to go consuming up this hatchery on the natural expansions. Getting some energy back over there. The Ling Bane Lurker to the left-hand side making a move. Queen Lurker Ling on the right side. I think we've got ourselves a... game 3 on the horizon. And Serral is starting to make some plays that are just going to deny... I mean, it's just the sensible plays. You deny this third base. Slow down economy. Obviously, your Lurkers are coming into play soon, so they're going to be better than ever. That's pretty much going to be this game. Binary is going to be killed off on the top side. It's another little drop in the game. The Widow Mines from uThermal have consistently hit very well. If he was in anything of a better position in this game, the Widow Mine shots he has had would have absolutely just won him the game on their own accord, but... obviously, when you're just a little bit too far behind, those little things don't necessarily matter. As our bio's going to stim in, a Lurker's going to get picked off. These few Banes want to come through too. GG says uThermal, and we will get our game 3. Keep you all updated on what we're going to be doing today. So basically, we've got Starcraft 2 for a good few hours still. So if you just join us and you're like, oh no, last map of this? Yeah, but plenty more still to come, so don't you all worry. Top right-hand side, NC Esports, Red Zerg player, Serral. As in the bottom left-hand side, we've got ourselves uThermal. ADM Hydra, LloydGB, sorry. Thank you so much for the fresh new subscription. Welcome back to the, welcome to the Wardy family. Appreciate your support in the stream. As we have got our Overlord of Serral is making its way slowly out down the right side. Cutting across through the center, and away it will go. So Oxide is a little bit of a, like I say, Terran favored map. Why is that? Well... forward base you can take that has choke points into it, difficult for the Zerg to hit this base. Good base setup, and a really limited number of bases as well. So when you only have 6 bases, it means that late game, Zerg has to end the game before late game because they just don't have enough bases unless they start expanding to bases of the Terran player. They don't have enough bases to keep trading with the Terran forever and ever like they sometimes get forced to. Obviously lots of rocks, lots of ledges and stuff to take advantage of too for the Terrans, and just in general that tilts this map towards Terran favor. Third map in ZvT being Oxide tells a lot about the map pool. Well, that's a very short-sighted comment, because then you're just ignoring the fact that we've played on 2 Zerg-favored maps for the maps number 1 and 2. 2000 Atmospheres, a lot of people are saying is a bit Zerg-favored. Lightshade has a bit of a Zerg preference to it. So, it's just a stupid comment, because, you know, that's just like saying, well, Oxide's game number 3, but what uThermal has done is I think he's picked one of the Zerg-preferred maps initially over Oxide. I don't know why. Maybe he picked Lightshade because he actually won on that map yesterday. Maybe he just likes the way it plays. But typically, I would say, you know, let's say maybe 2000 Atmospheres is the most even if it's a bit of a larger map. And then Lightshade is a bit Zerg preferred and Oxide's a bit Terran preferred. I don't think for best of 3s, the map pool is so heavily tilted in Terran's favor, you know. But yeah, in this case, definitely, I was surprised. Like I was saying, I was trying to figure out the veto process in the earlier maps because to me, you know, the first 2 maps being Lightshade, then 2000 Atmospheres, to me sort of feels like, oh, wait a second, and what has uThermal done here? Like, what has uThermal ended up vetoing? What do we end up with for Game 3 and so on? Anyways, when we talk about map strengths and stuff as well, none of these maps are, like, rocking, like, a massive percentage advantage for either race anyway. You know, we're talking about, like, 5%-ish max, I would say, 5 to 10 maybe at most. You know, these are the kind of things that, you know, like I say, it's not like Terran should always win on this map. It's not like Terran is never able to lose on this map. There are just parts of this map that give the Terrans maybe a couple of extra chances that Zerg can still defend, that Zerg can still handle. The Zerg just have to be aware of, and it sometimes forces the Zerg hand in terms of what they want to do. uThermal building everything in the bottom right, and that includes the fact that he's going into a starport, a tech lab, and a fusion core. So he's going to try and completely hide this battlecruiser tech in the bottom right of Oxide. Now, Serral is going to scout in, and Serral scouting here should surely tell him that something's wrong a little bit. I mean, first of all, Hellion's in his main base, so Serral's going to have to deal with this as the Hellion drop comes through. And maybe that's where Serral just thinks, oh, wait a sec, so you've gone for like a proxy starport, you're Hellion dropping me early. Okay, I can deal with that. But then does he pick up on the fact that the next step of this is going to be battlecruiser production? Probably not, because that's definitely a little bit of a, It's definitely a little bit of an interesting kind of next step, isn't it? We'll see if Serral can pick up on it and prepare accordingly. As again, obviously, you scout in the main base here is Serral. And I think he just, again, like, uThermal gives him a reason to not think about what might happen next as he gets in for a few more drones with the run by. Medevac gets shot down in the back of the natural, though. These Hellions are very important now because they are going to be what protects the starport if the starport gets found, as Serral is going to shut this down. I think Serral right now is probably, as he shuts down these Hellions, is likely to go on the map hunting for that starport because he wants to make sure it has flown home. And it's not just going to be looking to do something else. He loses an Overlord over here. He is building spores. There he is. Serral's going to go hunting on the map. Like I say, it's one of these scenarios where now you know there was a starport on the map, and now you're going to find it. And uThermal losing the Hellions is very unfortunate because these are meant to be what helps save this, you know, starport. He's going to get a couple of Hellions over here, and he will protect it, but now Serral knows, and the whole, you know, idea of a surprise is going to be broken. So surprise ruined. There's a couple of barracks continue up from uThermal in the main base. Just going to be seeing these few Hellions are going to pull it back up to the top side of the map as well. That layer is going to be completing shortly. And the BC flies up the right-hand side. Is going to go past a hatchery to begin with. A hatchery which is going to start getting nibbled at by the battlecruiser. So the BC isn't going to even teleport in. It's just going to fly in and then teleport elsewhere after, or teleport home after. uThermal has potential on the natural expansion. Ling's not here. All of these Hellions are low HP. The Banes and the Lings are catching up to them. And it looks as though that is going to be a cleanup as Serral avoids too much damage being done. And he is going to be also handling this BC play pretty well as well. So uThermal decided to turn back onto the Queens. Multiple transfusions available. He's going to hunt down all of these Queens in the end. At least 2 of the 3. Will he get the other one? Looks like he might. Spire starts up from Serral, but Spire against a BC, I mean, okay, because it's a single BC, I guess we end up with this being a muta play, and that's just what Serral wants to move into as the next step. That starport was killed, by the way, so starport going down. No, where's the starport? Did the starport just fly home a long time ago? Am I blind? Where's the starport? Oh, there it is. It's landed in the natural. I was trying to figure out where the heck the starport was. I couldn't see it anywhere, but it wasn't on the structure skill tab, so it was just the tech lab being cleaned up over here. So the starport makes it home. Again, with the... Okay, he cancelled the spire and he goes hydrogen. Like I was saying, the spire doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense right now because you don't necessarily need something to deny the battlecruiser. So you're probably just going to make mutas, which is fine. You can play mutas. It just wasn't necessary. And Serral says, well, if it's not necessary, let's actually just play hydras into melee upgrades. So his upgrades are quite far behind. His hydrogen's going to be nice and quick. And his worker count's about an 11 difference. uThermal has the 3 bases mine. Remember, this was all off of a later 3rd CC, but a 3rd CC that still came down, right? We're still building by the 4-minute marker or so. SBC is going to bring itself up the left-hand side and just going to try and get in for some more harassment. So far, picking off a few queens was kind of about it, but this is the annoying part if you don't make spire units. Now, you don't want to make spire units just to deal with this, because I think this is something you just have to handle. But this BC moving around is going to keep units at home. It is going to keep units having to respond to this again and again. And in a moment like this, you deal some damage against queens and stuff. You can put some damage out and then kind of pull back, as uThermal is going to find the chance to come forward here, deny some creep tumors, and might even get himself a queen before he has to lift up and back away from this. Doesn't quite reach the queen. Serral is quick to get there, and the defense is made. The battlecruiser on the upper left-hand side will stand sturdy and waiting an opportunity to do or make another move here. You see here, picking off all these creep tumors, dealing some good damage. Obviously just clearing up the map so we have a better time later. As uThermal, he wanted that queen, he doesn't find it. Queen, which is actually going to be the result of a bunch more creep spread coming available. uThermal's rallying forward. Again, it's kind of interesting because Serral expanded to this right side, so the entire idea of this expansion setup from Serral is that he's expanding away from the Terran 3rd base. So that is actually going to help him out in terms of making uThermal kind of rally in a direction he doesn't really want to. Just making him run around corners he would like to avoid in general. Is best feelings connecting in. Obviously the Widow Mine's going off. We didn't see any major Widow Mine shots here. Some of them got cleaned up ahead of the fight. uThermal taking a pretty good fight though, even with some of those Widow Mines fading away. He nearly catches a few Banelings. Not quite though in the end, as they do back up, and that creep spread is going to start to recede back toward the Zerg side of the map. So uThermal with a reasonable push here, getting a good amount done. And he is going to maybe now rotate through to get some creep spread up here as well, and that's nice. Again, opening pathways, opening chances for him to deal damage as this game continues on. Well, Serral's gone up to a 5th base. uThermal is preparing for a 4th, as he's going to find the Baneling run by. One thing uThermal has not had to worry about this game is too many counterattacks of Serral doing too much. And I think that's very important, obviously, because if Serral was in here counterattacking and all of that kind of stuff, that's where uThermal's life becomes a lot more difficult for sure. So actually going to stim up this ramp and try and grab a queen, but the transfusions are good. uThermal just needs to make sure not to lose too much economy or anything to run bys, because that's where Serral will dominate this game. He loses a full medevac, which is a little unfortunate, because honestly it was really touch and go, and he's going to lose another one as he just wasn't flying it back. Serral probably could have walked under that and killed it. I don't think Serral quite realized that was there right away either. As uThermal, 3 Widow Mines at a time, has made his way toward Drilling Claws. And we're going to see Serral coming in from a couple different angles here. He gets decent Widow Mine shots, uThermal, as he's going to fly out and pull himself back. He's going to actually come around the left side and flank in the few Hydras which don't have Baneling support. So they end up in a little bit of trouble too. 2-2 against 1-1 for quite a while here. It's going to be uThermal's advantage for the foreseeable future, as boom, 12, 17 SCVs go down. What did uThermal not need to do? Let Serral start getting an economic advantage via run-bys. That's going to take uThermal's economy into a little bit more of an uncomfortable state, just as he's getting ready to go up to that nice, strong 4-base eco. That's now just going to be slowed down that little further. Not having the SCVs, you need to really saturate those bases. And actually, a Ling run-by going to hop on top of that pretty much right away anyway. And it's just going to do some damage. Now Ling run-by to the left side. uThermal should be able to get Marines here. He should be able to clean this up without too much issue. the very least, we'll get a good few lings out of it. Both players are staying close to being maxed. Obviously, Serral is maxed, uThermal is not. Serral has gotten up to the lurkers, and of course, that changes the pacing of this game big time. Now, uThermal's going to have to respect those lurkers. He's going to have to be a lot less aggressive, a lot less kind of push-focused. We'll see what he can do. Seismic Spines isn't done yet, but I think before uThermal gets into any sort of next fight, I think Seismic Spines will be done, so not an advantage to try and take advantage of, really, from uThermal, as he is going to drop in the top left. Remember, one thing that Serral doesn't have a good way of, or a good kind of setup to deal with is drops. You know, he doesn't have mutas or anything. He's got Hydras, and that's about it when it comes to drop defense. So, you know, little drops like this, I mean, this is great. You cancel a base. You do very well in that corner of the map. Trading off for a few Zerglings, too. And that's the kind of thing that uThermal will want, to keep Serral slowed down until at least you get an answer to these lurkers a little bit better, until you get set up into your later game. Obviously, we're looking at the same time right now. We're seeing Adaptive Talons coming up. We're seeing Vipers in production. So that's coming through as well. So as Lurkers popped out for a moment, these Marines doing okay, picking away at a few of the Zerglings. Back to the top side, we're going to come in again. That's going to be a dead hatchery. Yeah, uThermal doing a decent job up on the top side of the map. Not making much progress on the right, unfortunately. Again, he is going to need to kind of slow this game down himself, and it looks like he's doing it. He's going into 2 more factories. He's already got 2. So he's going to go 4 factories, probably mass tank production here against Serral's lurkers. So masses of tanks, Ghost Academy as well, and obviously with the CCs, he's definitely looking at expanding. And just, I mean, this base is absolutely looking like it's going to be a planetary fortress just to hold this choke point and to basically say to Serral, nuh-uh, this direction of the map is closed. You're not allowed up over here. Not without paying a pretty high price of busting through a planetary. Which I don't mind if you're going to slow this game down a whole bunch. There's a big benefit in doing that. As you're going to see Bane run by here. uThermal's reacting to it. This Viper is miscontrolled and does fly forward. I thought it was maybe hunting for a parasitic bomb initially, but uThermal just, or Serral, sorry, hadn't controlled it back after the initial push forward. Drop in the top left is doing okay as this drop right side gets denied. It's the top left drop that does find a chunk of damage, but Serral's also still over here, stopping this third base from mine. He's the one that takes some big ego hits, but he was the one with the bank to play with as well. So, yeah, now Serral still has the money to rebuild. I'm sure he can replace these drones as 22 come up at once. It is a 1,000 mineral investment, though, so that's a big chunk of his bank that just disappears to drone production rather than unit production. So that is something that aids uThermal. He picks off a lurker. He's going to be having to lift this CC again. Unless he can actually just get the units over here. I mean, it's taking big damage anyway, but looks like he will turn it around and at the same time bottom right base. I really thought this was going to be a planetary. Turns out it's just going to float to the bottom right. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think it's going to do much over here as these couple of tanks will do decent at the units that are rolling in towards them initially. And these are the sort of fights that uThermal needs, you know, fights where he gets good free damage done essentially before the fight breaks out. Let's try and drop to the top left again. It's just all over the place, right? Again, you always refer to uThermal as a bit of a micro-Terran, in the sense that he likes to micro, he likes to run around the map, he likes to be very active. Tanks are going to go splitting up, and again, he has been trying to set for the late game. We saw that Ghost Academy start, but he never got to actually build Ghosts out of it. He has just been focused on tank production. Again, that siege tank count very high, so he can perhaps hold off these lurker pushes, stop Serral from just running into his bases, sieging him up, and putting him into a bad position. I think Bane's going to run forward here. These lurkers coming through for this as well. Going to try and get in on top of this. These tanks, can they do their job? Again, their job is to basically say nuh-uh to this group of lurkers. And basically to make sure that they stay pushed back. This is a reasonable job of it so far. Tanks covering fire on the bottom side. A lot of these lings being picked away at. Tank abductors, good. Nice quick kill. Serral just feels like he's got a bit too much control. Even though uThermal's been doing a decent job of building up bases and getting ready, these trades just haven't been almost good enough. Or Serral's economy hasn't been hurt enough, I suppose. It kind of feels like uThermal should have a little bit more than he does. It was this one fight here. He lost a lot of army all at once. And he's struggling to recover from that. In total, it feels like his efficiency wasn't even bad. It's just, when you lose so much army all at once, what happens is you obviously end up in this position where you know, in losing all that army all at once, you can't just rebuild it. And so, with the kind of the slower income that uThermal had, which was pretty bad, it just hasn't been something you can really cope with. And now Serral denies his 5th base, and this does start to become more and more of an issue. Because uThermal has this CC, which is going to fly back over the left. It's quite a long flight, but he says whatever. He'll make it over there eventually. But might get shot down. Lurker's going to unburrow. We're going to relocate now to the right side, maybe? Nope. Going to pull back away here. These tanks are going to get chased. There's a couple of Vipers coming in as well. Here comes the Lingbane army going to come through. It's going to go diving in on top of this, as we do have. These Lurkers are once again going to turn it back around up to the top side, moving through the middle. On the left, we've got a Lurker moving around as well. Tank fire still looking pretty decent, as we're going to be seeing the Lurker shots come through. Going to reset all of those siege tanks. Now we're going to go jumping in on top of this planetary fortress. So it's going to clean that out, take down the planetary. Just push forward as well. It's going to see a siege tank gets taken down. uThermal's just falling apart. I mean, obviously he hasn't really done much in the last few moments, and just now as he tries to do something, spores shoot down his medevac, so it's very minimal what he'll achieve here. With transfusions available, they're just going to trade out with this bio unit. These queens will defend. And it's just going to be another move from Serral, ready to jump on top of this army. Basically, his tanks are currently unsieged. That needs to not be the situation. If we go back in time, is what uThermal was probably asking. Another series, 2 days in a row, he led 1-0 against Serral, but he's just not able to finish up the series in the next couple of maps. And that, my friends, will be GG. And that will be Serral taking this series 2-1. And Serral is qualified for TSL 7. After that 2nd place finish in TSL 6, he'll be glad to get another shot at a TSL title. We'll see if he can do that in June, as of course uThermal will have to try in the next qualifier alongside Reynor and everybody else that fell in qualifier 1. That next qualifier will be next week.